So now I am excited. I hope she's here with us, Melanie Campbell. She's our first guest, president and CEO of the National Coalition of Black Civic Participation and the convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. I don't know how you got a chance, Melanie, as you take yourself off of mute, to get this, to have time to speak with us today in the middle of your conference that's going on right now. But I am honored that you have done this. And tell us what's going on and where you are.
Well, actually, this year we're in Virginia. For 2 years we were in Maryland,
Oh,
so we
that's
moving
right.
around the DMV. So we're actually in Crystal City, at the Hyatt Crystal City. We're sold out though, unfortunately, but people can still register to online. We're halfway through, so it's 4-day summit, and what we did, Denise, this year is that we have expanded our Global Empowerment Day, and we actually had a pre-convening with uh, uh, women from the diaspora from 13 countries to join us this year in partnership with the Solidarity Center. So we had a whole day where we spent together, and we had Caroline Wanga from Essence Ventures join us, and a couple of folks from the Biden-Harris administration as well. But it has been a great time. And then yesterday we were on Capitol Hill, and we hit all three levels of federal government, and we were at the Supreme Court where we had a press conference, and pretty much turned into a rally, quite frankly, where we were really lifting up what our concerns are before we actually started doing our visits to congressional members to give them a copy of our 2024 Black Women's Roundtable policy agenda and have conversations about those concerns. So we did that yesterday. And then today, and every day has a theme, Denise. And so today it's all about Community Day. So we're actually having policy conversations and strategy discussions around the issues that are concerned to us, our rights, our freedoms, and justice issues, the attack on diversity, equity, inclusion, Black history, and so on and so forth. But while we were together this morning, we also had a celebratory moment when we heard that Fannie Willis would not be taken off the case in
Wow,
Georgia.
that's big news. That's
The
big
bill be
news.
stopped. We had Monique Presley was our moderator, and we had Siobhan, Arlene Bradley, and others that were on the panel. And we celebrated that moment because we know Black women are feeling very much under attack. As women, we're under attack from controlling our own bodies to Fearless Fund, who's was one of the largest venture capital Black women-owned companies, because we
Right,
don't
in
get
Atlanta.
the resources exactly. So we had them with us. One of the things we did at the Supreme Court was lift up the Fearless Fund, and then help them set up meetings. We met with um, Speaker Schumer,
Mm-hmm.
Majority Leader Schumer, yesterday. Actually took them to have a meeting with him, and just coming together and also having a little fun. We had a local, but yet international, Raheem Devon, celebrated what we call Black Her Story uh, celebration and our Sisters Awards last night. We have 2 more days tomorrow. It's all about you day, where we pour in to each other, to ourselves, and really take the time to understand that health is important. Our well-being, our mental health, uh, and also when it comes to economics, entrepreneurship, we'll have a entrepreneurship challenge where we'll be giving up to $25,000 to an entrepreneur that leaves here from the summit. And then we close out on Sunday of Faith in Action. We have Bishop Vashti McKenzie, who will close us out as our preacher of the hour tomorrow on Sunday.
Wonderful.
So
Yeah, Melanie, you all always have a very, very dynamic gathering. I mean, it's fun, it's entertaining, but it's significant, it's meaningful and powerful. I mean, your summit theme, owning our power, protect, participate, protect, preserve, and promote. And this year, to me, is like the summits you've done in other years, right? Where it's not it's about talking about all the issues, but really there's a call to action. And I assume when you were on the Hill and in front of the Supreme Court and places where you had your, where you gathered, what was that call to action that we can share with folks right now, especially
Um,
women?
the call to action was stand up and fight back, right? The call to action by going to the Supreme Court, to the Congress, as well as meeting with Biden Harris administration uh, officials, specifically the Department of Justice yesterday, right, where we went to activate what we mean by that. So we stood before the Supreme Court where we're not getting the justice we deserve with anything. Our rights and freedoms and opportunities are being rolled back by that building. So there's a symbolism to being at the Supreme Court because you have the affirmative action case that has had residual effects on opportunities for Black-owned business, minority-owned businesses because of what was in a case against Harvard, we had to do with education, has now filtered into corporate America, into foundations and other places where resources are being diminished and people being afraid to say Black, right? So we are we retrench. It's a retrenchment and a pushback. So when we talked about critical race theory uh, in Black history, now diversity, equity, inclusion programs are being totally banned in some states or being rolled back. People are losing their jobs, right? And resources, access to capital is the number one indicator of whether you can scale up a business to be able to prosper from that business as opposed to just barely making it. Most entrepreneurs, we say Black women are number one entrepreneur growth, but
Mhm.
we're majority are one women shops, and so because access to capital. So if you don't have diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, those programs go away, and then when you have a court system, at least the lower courts, who are telling a fearless fund what's dangerous about that case is they're telling women who women of color is their focus that you can't even raise money to close a gap in access to capital because now that's seen as racist, reverse racism. So we're in an interesting moment in time.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that, for those of us in the news who don't always control the messaging or the message, that of all the issues that your organization or that you've raised as it relates to women and Black women, the issues that are being put out there, and I'm just wondering where you all are on this. You didn't mention immigration. You didn't mention the Supreme Court's decision to roll back Roe v. Wade. What's happening with women, and now that a fetus is considered a person. These are issues that the other media is focused on,
Right.
but we're not hearing the voices of Black women on
Well,
these
I would
issues.
say that
Tell me about that.
what when I say rights, all those rights, right?
Hmm.
Affirmative action is an economic issue that's pressing. But we've lost rights as women to control our bodies because of reversal of Roe v. Wade, right? We've lost much of our power when it comes to our right to vote, and because of the several cases that have come before the Supreme Court. We won some cases, but we're still losing cases around voting rights, right? So those issues. When it comes to we just released a poll, uh, our ninth year, the Black Women's Roundtable in essence, that talked about the issues of concern for Black women, and a lot of that has now is going to concern about economics. It's like the number one issue of concern. It's not that those other issues of immigration is not an issue, but that poll just came out that we just released day before yesterday, I think it was. Now days of meshing really shines a light that Black women were worried about inflation, cost of living, because in some cases it hasn't caught up to the fact that we already don't make uh, uh, the kind of incomes that we should for the work that we do. So we are what the poll revealed is that we have a myriad of issues, right?
Hmm.
And so where during the Trump administration, it really focused around um, concern about racism and white nationalism. So what's going on in the ecosystem or in the time always reflects in the poll,
Right.
right? And so you don't have a Donald Trump in office. So therefore, although there's racism and sexism and things happening, it did not rise to the same number as it had. And now what you see, like it rank, don't get me wrong, because racism and what's happening, white nationalism is
Oh
still
yeah.
happening. We have a potential presidential candidate that fits that bill. So at the end of the day, it's the cost of living very much very much high on this. The other is that the poll reveal is that black women across from various generations are thinking very differently than I've seen before when it comes to being persuaded that we're not quite really fully like we have been in many years. So those candidates out there, right, have to really pay attention to what black women are thinking and do their level best. This is going to be a turnout election by every stretch of the imagination. It will be about who can get their quote unquote base out in the election. So we're hoping the poll kind of informs people. And then the big thing that's happening out here with all the attacks that we're talking about is there seems to be an attempt to erase black people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our theme is power of the ballot, our campaign theme. We won't be erased, and tying the ballot, the issues that of concern to that ballot, so people know that it's a powerful tool to address those issues, and staying home is not a good option.
I know that you came off of a tour, I think last year. Was it the bus tour where you
Yeah, we
went to all these
started our
different?
24 campaign in
Right.
Florida, but
Mm-hmm.
since then, Denise, we've been in Michigan. We were in South Carolina, and we'll be in the spring in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, back in Georgia, and throughout the summer. So we started early because it's going to be. We knew it was going to be a difficult election,
What's
and
the tone? What's the feeling like out there? Are
well,
people,
I would
especially
say,
black women, are they like really? Because we've been the base, at least for the
yeah,
Democratic
yeah,
Party. It's been a lot of the work that your organization has done to get folks out.
yeah,
But I'm wondering, is it harder this year, or I
yeah.
mean, what
Quite
are you
frankly, it is
hearing and
hard.
feeling?
It,
Mm-hmm.
it's harder. It's harder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It really is. But I will also say, uh, there's still a lot of hope, right?
Okay.
We are not defeated, but we there's a lot of anxiety. The poll reveals that there's a lot of anxiety with Black women right now. A lot of concern, and feeling of distress, and I feel that part of that has to do with the onslaught of attacks on women, and attack on Black women, and we owning our power. So if you think about as women in general have a harder time, but Black women have an even harder time. One of the panels we just had this morning talked about the attack on Black women. So you had at least one elected official who was on here, and others who were paying attention to what's happening to black and brown elected leaders, and showed a short film that showed women from Colorado and I think it was Virginia and other states who are going through um, threats,
Mm.
and the rise in threats just to be um, speak for the people that put you in office. And there's this divide out here that is really concerning, and a lot of level of security that goes into even wanting to serve.
It's
That you have
funny
to
because you mentioned Fannie Willis and the judge's decision, but listening to her testimony, and America listens through one ear, we listen through another ear, right? And so we heard a lot in her testimony about the plight of Black women,
Mhm.
that I don't know if folks, if you kind of pull back the curtain, there's a lot there. One, her
Yeah.
relationship with her father, about finances, different things that I think really brought home how Black women survive, no
Yeah.
matter what economic level that they're in. So, I think what you all are doing as an organization is fantastic. I mean, is there anything, I know you got to run,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Here we
anything
go.
you want to share before you leave us?
Um, well, first and foremost, let me say this to you, Denise. Thank you, right? Thank you for all you do as I would say a journalist extraordinaire, but also as a sister leader. I know that you're in journalism, but you are out there in those streets, right, as well, and making
Every
sure that
day.
you lift up our community. I didn't get a chance to give you a hug during the MLK parade, but we was out there on that. Cora Berry, Masters Berry had me on that flatbed truck.
It was
Uh,
cold.
it was cold that day, but we stuck it out, right? My friend Mustafa Hafiz was on that. But I waved at you. But
Right.
it's really so I thank you for that. And so, but if people want to get involved, they can follow us at Black Women's Roundtable. They can go to unitycampaign.org and get a copy of that poll. It's very, very, very informative. Um, um, it holds our snapshot in time, and so it just happened. So give you a feeling where we are today. Tomorrow, something can happen and shift it, but right now, this is where Black women
Where
are.
can I go? Repeat that again, where you can get the
Unity, UNITY,
Unity. Okay. Uh-huh.
campaign.org.
Great. Okay. All
And
right.
get involved out there.
Right.
Do something, right? If it's just your household, and make sure you show up and own your power.
Wonderful. Melanie Campbell, thank you so very much for being with us. Have a great conference. I guess it's too late for folks, but next time we want to do this ahead of time so we can
Yes,
have, but you
indeed.
never have a
And,
problem getting
and
the house
if you got
full.
time, come on over tomorrow.
Okay, we got our spelling bee tomorrow,
Oh, see, yeah.
which
You see
if
what I'm
it's
saying? See, because you're doing stuff. That's why I want to look back, right? We got to
yeah,
connect so that we make sure that we're together next year.
I look forward to
God
it. All
willing.
right, thanks. Best wishes. Thank you. All right.